Alright, I don't know if this is working. It's the night before the race. Feeling good. Got the tent set up. Had big pasta dinner. It's gonna go good. Alright, so welcome to the breakdown of my performance in the 2026 Croatan Buck 50 gravel race. As of the completion of it, it is the longest bike race that I have ever done, both in the distance that I covered and also the time that it took me to complete it. I am going to be talking about my training before the race, my plan for the race going into it, my execution of that plan, and also what I learned from doing this. So, super excited to talk about it, so let's get right into it. Hang on, let me just get into my swag here. Check that out, it's pretty cool. All right, so what exactly, this hat is not really working out for me. So what exactly is a Croatan Buck 50? Well, like I said, the race was 150 miles long, which is a long enough distance that it actually qualifies as an ultra bike marathon, which requires the distance to be around 200 kilometers long or longer. Now, even though this is a very daunting amount of distance, the course itself was actually perfectly flat. So the elevation change that you'll see in the graphs that I'm going to show later was actually because the air density got lighter because the day got warmer, right? So perfectly paper flat. Because of this flat elevation profile, riding this race was much more like doing a long session on a trainer bike than anything else. So before I even started with the race itself, I knew that this was going to be probably the hardest thing that I've ever attempted. My first 100-mile bike ride was a 100-miler that I did back in August of 2025, and that was on a road bike, so the dynamic was very different. I had done one ride longer than that in terms of time, which was an 8.5-hour mountain bike ride back in the beginning of September, but those two experiences hadn't gone very well for me since I didn't know that much about how to manage an effort over such a long amount of time. I signed up for the race back in around December or January, and that meant that I had to plan most of my training around the weather. Because it was so cold, I couldn't get out every day, or maybe it was raining, or we got a lot of snow this year. And as a result, anytime that I was able to get out, I had to make it a long distance ride. But this is good because one, base training is very productive for you, but also I needed a lot more practice with eating food on the bike and what like carbohydrates I should be eating and all sorts of things like that. I had to learn my numbers, all that stuff. So the two skills that were really the most important was actually managing the effort and being able to eat food while on the bike, as that was basically the only two things I was going to have to worry about on the race. All right, 15 minutes to race start. Getting my lap 1 nutrition ready. Got some of this body armor stuff at the gas station. It's got 1,400 milligrams of no, not caffeine, that would be crazy, but sodium. And most of my fuel is going to be from liquids. I already got 240 grams of carbs from the feed, getting fueled. So I got around 700 milligrams of sodium in here. And that should help. And then I'm going to have another bottle, also with 240 milligrams of the feed in it. And I'm going to fill out the rest of my nutrition with carbs, fuel gels, and some goos for caffeine. It's gonna be a good race. So my actual carb intake goal for the day was around 100 grams of carbs per hour. This might seem like a lot, but I weigh around 205 pounds. So that 100 grams of carbs per hour is actually pretty good for me. I've even managed to hit around 120 on some rides, so it was well within stuff that I could manage. The course itself was 75 miles long, and it was 2 laps of that 75-mile course. Just so that you guys can see it, this is the bottle I was using. My goal time going in was 10 hours, so I knew that it was going to be 5 hours around-ish per lap. So that meant that I was going to bring with me on the first lap 480 grams of carbs in my water bottles in the form of drink mix, and then whatever else I needed in the form of Carbs Original Fuel Gels. They were 25 grams each, so I brought 6 of those, and then also a couple of goos, which had caffeine in them to help with digestion and energy throughout the race.
Yo, we pulling up with the squad? We ready?
The race itself started on a motor speedway down in Croatan, North Carolina. The night before, we had actually camped out in the pits of the speedway, so on the day of the race, the only thing I needed to do was get dressed, prepare my fuel, get on the bike, and get ready to go.
Here we go.
The start of the race was a neutral start for the first couple miles or so. We were paced by a big truck at the front of the pack, so the excitement in the air was palpable as we were getting ready to go around the first turn.
I think I saw someone last year with one too.
I don't have my number plate, dude.
Yeah, I'm almost positive.
I don't have my number plate. Literally. It's not on the bike.
Just go back and get it then, bud.
All right, I'll catch up. No number plate. I don't know where the fuck it is. So in my pure, unadulterated stupidity, I had somehow managed to forget to put my number plate on the bike itself. My friends had picked it up the day before, and they told me that they got it, and it was sitting in the passenger seat of their car, but I had never seen it, so I guess my brain thought that it didn't exist or something. I really don't understand what happened there. So we hadn't even made the first turn yet, and I had to peel off and run to the car, find the number plate, and then dash to my dash to the neighboring campsite, grab some zip ties, strap it to the side of the bike, and immediately get going as fast as I could.
Dude, I forgot my fucking number plate. I had to turn around and go get it. I've got like a 3-minute handicap right now. I do not know which way to go. Should catch him.
The only thing that I actually knew when I was leaving the speedway was that I was supposed to turn right onto the road. I didn't know where the first turn was after that point or anything. I was just hoping that I could see the pack by the time I got going. But because I had started close to 4 minutes late, I really had no hope of seeing them. Eventually, I got confused and I pulled out my phone, pulled up the map, and realized I was going the wrong way. So that was a really bad start. I called up my friend and asked him which way I was supposed to go, and he told me how to get the route pulled up on the bike computer that he was lending me. And once that was all settled, I got onto the gravel road and I began the day in earnest.
All right, I made it to the gravel, but all right, you're gonna be upside down. But that 4-minute penalty for getting my fucking number plate, I'm not happy about that. It's a long day on the bike, so I'll have plenty of time to catch people. In fact, I know I'm going to. But I just gotta keep an eye on my numbers and just charge through. I'm not planning on taking any aid stations unless I need water. It's still very early in the day. When I said I don't know where I'm going, so I actually took a wrong turn, and what I ended up doing was I had to call my friend, and I was like, bitch, you motherfucker, I went the wrong way, because I pulled my phone out, pulled up the route on like Google Maps or some shit, and it turns out that I was going the wrong way. But thankfully he had the route dialed onto his bike computer. He's lending me his bike computer, and yeah, it's not the best start, to say the least. I see a car up ahead. I'll just keep pedaling. Got 10 hours of this. Don't need to get ahead of myself. All right, cheers, y'all.
So the car that I had spotted was actually the truck that had let out the pack at the start. This left me somewhat hopeful that I was going to be able to catch the pack, and as a result, I wasn't managing my effort as well as I should have. But the main thing that I was worried about was catching a group. And the reason for that is if you're in a group, you benefit vastly from the benefit of drafting. This would allow you to both travel easier because you don't have to deal with wind resistance, but also faster because you can rotate out people who are on the front and keep the pace up and finish the race faster.
All right, so getting aero, keeping an eye on my wattage. I'm cooking it a little bit. I don't think I missed the pack by all that much. It's a neutral start for like the first mile or so. And then you go through this big corner and then they let you loose. And I just saw the truck that was pacing them. So hopefully that means I'm gonna start seeing people soon. But I'm out here on my own. I got to take the corner at my own pace, which was nice because I'm not the most confident on a gravel bike. I'm more of a mountain biker. So slipping out in the gravel and just like perforating my skin is not something I'm super fond of. But yeah, guess I'll talk about the bike. It's a Lauf Sigla. The nice thing about it is this little suspension doohickey right here, right? And the angle of the fork is extra slack. So this thing handles very similarly to a mountain bike. Okay, we're getting some potholes here. But it handles very similarly to a mountain bike, but it still has a lot of the speed of a road bike, right? And those are the two types of bikes I'm the most familiar with. So this thing, it's an incredible ride. Like, I'll tell you that, right? Like I'm just out cruising around on mountain bike trails on this thing in my local area, and then hop on the roads, feel just as fast as the road riders. It's an incredible feeling. I'm running these Goodyear tires that came with the bike. They're 50 millimeter. So that's the other thing that's nice about this bike is that you can fit up to 55 millimeter tires in at 2.25 inches, I think. So you can actually run some cross-country mountain bike tires in this thing. And that's the plan. Of course, my friend hits me up like last night while I'm on the way, or no, 2 nights ago. And he tells me that the tires that I'm running have the second worst rolling resistance in this database of 150 tires. I'm not gonna let that slow me down at all. They call me the GOAT, they call me Croatan Pogača. And I was doing math with my power zones and how fast I tend to move in a group. And I was hoping to be done in around 10. Conditions are actually ideal. It's the best they've seen in years as far as I'm aware, because no rain in the week leading up. And it's gonna be like 70 something degrees today. And there's gonna be cloud cover, so it's not gonna be too hot. So I'm confident that I could at least do that 10-hour goal that I set for myself. 9 hours is a stretch, but yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think that's gonna happen. I started with a 4-minute handicap and then went the wrong way. So that was like an extra 2 minutes. And now I'm not in a group. So I'm just burning watts right now for the speed that I want. All right, it's starting to, the pavement's looking, or pavement, this is gravel, starting to look a little bit better so I can get back in aero. Doing that puppy paws position. It's one of my favorites, oddly enough. I like the puppy paws. Yeah, but no, the course is so flat. So you're just basically riding on flat ground for 150 miles. It's a pretty crazy experience. But no, I'm super excited for today. I've done 200-mile bike rides ever. One of them was on this bike, another one was on a road bike. Both of those took me around 7 hours. The first one I did was back in August 2025. So about 6 months ago, I think, actually. And pretty similar situation to right now, where, oh, wow, it's got bumpy. Coming through this corner here. Okay, do not go down the OTV trail. Got it. All right. I started with a group, and then I was like kind of jumping between groups, because of course I didn't really know how to do endurance shit very well at the time. So I was like, oh, I could be going faster right now. This doesn't feel like work. And so I moved to a faster group, and then moved to the front of the pack, then got dropped, and I couldn't find anybody to ride with for, say, 80 miles of this race. Or no, it was less than that. It was like 60. But even still, I was basically solo that whole time. And woo! Ah, bumpy. I was basically solo. And the part that really sucked was I didn't have a GPS. So I got this Wahoo bike computer on here that my friend gave me. And it's great because I don't need to worry about getting lost. But this time, back in August, I did. And so I just had to find somebody who had the route and ride with them. And they were either going 14 miles an hour or 22. And there was no in between the whole way. It was crazy, right? So I did eventually end up finishing in about 7 hours. It was 105 miles-ish. My actual time for the 100-mile distance was like 6:40, which for my first time, I'd say that's pretty good. All right, coming through a corner here. One-handed. They call me something. Starts with a G. I'll let you fill in the rest. I'm gonna focus up here for a little bit. I'll talk back to you guys when I have something more interesting to say. So, yeah, I'll see you in like 20 miles or so. Hopefully I catch some people.
So after this point, I did in fact pass quite a few people, but they weren't people that I could really hang on to. What I had actually run into was the stragglers from the original pack that had fallen off the back. And as a result, they were going too slow for me to be able to ride with them and catch anybody who I wanted to catch. The route through this section was probably the most diverse out of anything from the entire day. There were a lot of different kinds of gravel roads where there was like the actual road itself was kind of like domed, and so you had to ride right up on the top if you wanted to reduce your possibility of falling. There was also some sections where you're going through like these little single track areas in between like cornfields, and then there was actually a point where we went through the cornfield and then hopped on a road before eventually we came back to a gravel road that was a lot wider and a lot flatter. So I'm on the straightaway. This goes on for quite a few miles. I don't know if you could see in the camera, but there's some people way out in front of me. I've already passed a good 4 people, and I'm hoping that I'm starting to come up on some packs, because I'm averaging almost 16 miles an hour, including the like slow down at the start. It's a little closer to 16 and a half-ish. Which actually, like, if I keep sustaining this, I'll finish in less than 10 hours. I'll hit that stretch goal in 9, potentially. But I'm also cooking pretty hard. I'm staying zone 2, but it's like upper zone 2 for me right now. So hopefully it goes well. Sitting at 21 and a half-ish miles right now. Got 130 to go. It's been almost an hour and a half. All right, I gotta fuel up. It's my time to take the sip. Actually, I'm not gonna try to do it on camera. All right, you guys can imagine me taking a drink from water. All right, peace. So as you can see here, I was doing around 180 watts. I had produced 885 kilojoules up to this point, which translates to about 186 watts on average over the past hour and 23 minutes of the race. But remember, the first 4 minutes were me just not moving. So if you cut that out, my average was actually 195. This was definitely pushing it in terms of a pace that I could sustain. So given what happened later in the race, it made a lot of sense why, well, we'll get to it. Like I said, at mile 25, I passed the first aid station. My plan was actually not to stop at these aid stations at all. There was one aid station at the 25-mile mark, and then you go around the outside of the loop and come back, and then at 50 miles you stop there again. My plan was not to take those because I had plenty of water and plenty of food on the bike itself that I didn't think I would need anything from there, and well, I didn't at this point. So I looped around the aid station and then turned right onto perhaps the most bizarre thing I think I've ever seen.
Guys, I just passed the aid station. I didn't need to stop. I have plenty of stuff. I'm actually supposed to be eating right now, but I have to show you this. I've never seen nothing like that. Look at this. It's like the widest and flattest, best quality gravel road I've ever seen. There's interstates that don't look this good. It's incredible. I'm cooking right now though. Like, it's so flat, and I think there's a tailwind right now. There's something, because I'm chilling zone 2. I'm going 18 miles an hour right now on a gravel bike. That's good. I've passed 10 people so far. I see one more guy up ahead that'll take me up to 11. I've just been counting everybody I've passed. It's a good way to keep my mind at ease, keep the ego up. That's actually an important strategy. Is you gotta train your mind, because if you end up in a bad spot out on a long day like this, you get in your head and you're like, oh man, I gotta try harder. I'm not doing good enough. And then you don't do as well as you could have. So you always gotta keep your mind at ease. Remember, you're always out here for fun. There's some that brought you out here. There's some reason why you decided to start doing these things, be it bike marathons like this, running marathons, if you're an ultra guy, or even if you're just doing a 5K in your local park. Always got to keep that mind happy. Because, like, man, it's a beautiful day outside. Got this big ass road. I got my nice bike, my racing bike. I got my jersey. I got food. I'm chilling. Who doesn't want to be this, right? I'm having a great time. Don't forget to do that yourself.
Oh me, with less than 30 miles of riding behind you. How hopeful you were.
Dude, a helicopter. Look at that. I think I saw them, I see something down there. I don't know what they're doing. A long time ago, like around like mile 10, I was looking at, around at the forest around me, and there was some parts that were burning. So I think they're doing like a prescribed burn to help fertilize the soil. I wonder if that's what that chopper's doing. That's pretty cool. So I'm a little over 2 hours in, and just over 1/5 of the way there. So I'm keeping good on pace, but I'm definitely cooking a lot harder than I was intending to be at this point, because I don't excuse me, I'm not cooking that hard, don't worry. Because I was intending to be with a group this whole time, right? So I'm working probably like 30% or more harder than I should be. So, but it's whatever, I'm having a good time still. Should be good to go. I gotta figure this out here.
So after about 5 miles on that I-95 freeway, I had made it to the bottom of the lollipop at the top. This was just a little loop around the very end of the course before coming back to the big road and riding back towards the start. The terrain here was more similar to things that I saw at the front, being smaller gravel roads with a lot of tree cover. Though around the back half of it, there was a long section of extremely gnarly road. There was a neighborhood that was having some construction going on or being built or something around the back. And so work vehicles had been driving back and forth on this road. And as a result, there was just potholes, mud, really loose gravel just everywhere. And I wasn't able to get any footage of it because I was focusing on just keeping my power and not falling off the bike.
So I just passed another guy. Poor dude had a flat. But I just came out of this section. I couldn't film it. I wanted to, but I couldn't, because it was just like the whole stretch for like a couple miles was just potholes and mud, and there looked like there's some construction going on, because it's a little development over here, and it was rough. Thankfully, I'm not the worst bike handler when it comes to going in straight lines, but man, that was a tricky section. I've heard that in the past it was a lot worse, but thankfully up until that point nothing was really bad at all. There was just like one like single track section with like some roots, and that was it. So it really is just you and your numbers, you know, like just hit your nutrition, hit your watts, and you'll do good. So yeah, I figured I'd give a little update. That was probably the hardest section to get through while maintaining speed that I've seen yet. So yeah, here's to everything else going a lot smoother than that.
Everything else from the Lollipop, though, was more of the same that I had seen. There was a lot of gravel, the occasional road section, potholes, and that was just about it. But since I had turned around, the tailwind that I had been enjoying on the way out had actually turned into a headwind. And so once I hopped back onto the big freeway, it was a real struggle to keep my speed up. While going north, I had averaged 18.5 miles an hour on this section, but once I had turned around, my average speed plummeted to 14.7. So you could really see the drawbacks of not riding with a group. And also forgetting your number plate.
So I think they're picking up the power line or something. Don't mind the music, I'm getting a little bored out here. I'm fighting a headwind, so I'm going significantly slower than I was before, but still holding good pace. My back hurts a little bit, so I'm gonna try to like ease out of it a little bit. But everything's going good. Closing in on 50 miles, about 5 more to go to get there. I'm gonna picking up some water at the aid station. I'm actually a little bit behind in my nutrition. I was going faster than I was expecting, so I'm trying to consume a little bit more to make up for that. So yeah, I'll check in with y'all later.
New to the race this year was actually a ATV section that they had routed through. This hadn't been done in previous years as far as I was able to tell, and I actually couldn't find a lot of documentation on it on like Reddit and Google and whatever. So I actually made sure that I recorded a little bit of it just for your viewing pleasure.
So I actually haven't seen much documentation about this road here. I think this is actually an OTV trail. And as far as I'm aware, this is one of the first years that they're actually incorporating this into the route, and at least a very long time for the buck 50. Haven't seen any comments on it on like Reddit or YouTube or nothing. So this is actually a section I was kind of afraid of. But it's not too bad. It is pretty rough, all things considered. But thankfully the Lauf handles it very well. So I've just been cruising through here. Looks like it opens up again in a minute. Some riders ahead of me. Maybe I'll try to hook on or something. Getting a little tired. Down some pickles at the aid station, got some water. Feeling a little sore, so I need some more sodium for sure. I know that for next time. Pack a little bit more on the first half of the journey. I might add the Camelback on the way out. Again, we still have 2. All right, peace out.
Briefly after leaving the ATV trail, a large group of cyclists actually passed me on the left. I had been passed up to this point, so I was a little confused by this, and I decided that, what the hell, I'm gonna hop on with them. They were actually a group of riders that were racing the 50-mile course, which explained why they had showed up so much later in the day. They were also going far too fast for me to keep up with for any extended period of time, being around 20 miles an hour or so. Even though they were going so fast, I did manage to hang on to them for around 15 minutes, which boosted my hopes of being able to catch my friends that were further up ahead. I actually tried to vlog talking about this, but the music I was listening to decided to very dramatically interrupt what I was saying.
And I held on for a little while, and then they dropped me in the technical section. But so far everything's going.
The comedic timing truly could not have been any better. So at this point, I had managed to come back to the roads that I had ridden out on at the start of the race, and there's actually a new challenge here. Since I was by myself, I was able to just take the middle of that bowed road that I talked about. I was able to just take the middle of it and not have to worry about passing anybody or anything like that because I was the only one there. But by now, there were more racers going on the 20, the 50, the 75, the 100-mile versions of the race, and I had to find ways to get around them or let them pass depending on what they were doing. And this was pretty tricky because, like I said, the top of the arch that was the road was the most solid part, and then the sides were all very, very loose gravel. So it took a lot of technical skill to be able to stay on the bike through those sections. But thankfully, my background is as a mountain biker, like I mentioned in one of the vlogs, so I didn't have too much of an issue with it. I also had spotted a couple of my friends coming back the other way after finishing lap 1. And this was when I started to realize that any hope of catching them by the end of the race was pretty much gone. I had given them a call back during the Lollipop, which was around 20-ish miles before, and they were about 5 miles ahead of me. By this point, they were around 7 miles ahead of me, and I realized that because the gap just kept opening and I was working so hard, there's nothing I could do, and I should just relax, settle into an easier pace, and finish out the race. I had come to the end of lap 1 at this point, and I was having some stomach issues by then. It was pretty painful, and I think it was mostly just because I hadn't had enough electrolytes. I'd actually had a decent amount of back pain by then, since my my friend had actually talked me out of bringing some of the electrolytes that I had brought because he was worried that I was going to overdo it. So I'll blame him for my poor results here. I'd actually stopped at the aid station at mile 50 and quickly just ate a little cup of pickles and then kept going, and it felt better for a little bit, but it very quickly started to hurt again. So that's how I knew that sodium was the issue.
All right, guys, I'm at the halfway point. I am cramping pretty bad and underdoing nutrition, but I haven't been able to do much more, so I'm going to take my time with this break and try to cover up as much as I can, because I'm feeling it pretty bad right now, but still having fun. Good time. Just looking for my Camelback, and I'll be ready to keep going soon enough. Planning on taking like 10 minutes because I am pretty cooked.
So after my little break, I realized that if I didn't keep moving, I would probably start to stiffen up, and all of the heat that I had from the first half of the race would start to go away. So I just grabbed the bottles, got on the bike, and just kept moving immediately. What was interesting at this point, okay, the wind. By this point, a 75-mile ride would have actually been the third longest ride that I had ever completed. I had done that 100-mile bike ride back in August that I talked about. I did another, and I did one more in January as preparation for this, and that was a whole nightmare, terrible execution on my part before, I won't get into it, it was bad. But anyway, like I said, they would have been the third longest ride on my own already. And the first lap actually took me a lot faster than I was expecting, at around 4.5 hours. And so finishing that very long ride and then turning around just to do it again was probably one of the most insane things I think I've ever experienced. And my head was just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You're done. You finished it. You did the lap. You're done. And it was so crazy because, like, man, it was a wacky experience, man. As I was getting started with the second lap, I was noticing that things were starting to feel a lot more difficult. I think I definitely had stiffened up a little bit while I was waiting, but I was also just so fatigued from going as hard as I was for the first lap. Now, there was also another thing that was contributing to this, which was the wind, in its incredible prankster attitude, had turned around while I was stopped, and so the headwind that I had fought all the way back from the Lollipop had turned again into a headwind all the way back out. So it just felt like I couldn't get any kind of speed out of the bike.
So I'm about to cross over 100 miles. The wind has shifted from this morning. Anytime I try to like put out a decent amount of power, it's just like going like 13 miles an hour. My average is dropping like crazy. That, and I had to take such like, I just took a pit stop, ate some pickles, ate a banana, because I'm way underdoing it on sodium, and it's not a fun situation to be in, but yeah, for the most part, like, it's going as well as it could have, given the situation, with having to start late. So I'm hoping that I can still make 10 hours. 10:30 I can settle with. Really don't want to go any longer than that though. So hopefully wind doesn't change again, and hopefully then I'll have a tailwind for the last, what would it be, 30 miles? Because then at least I could actually get some mileage up. But yeah, That's why it's been so long since I've actually done a little bit of a log, because just been fighting this whole time, because the soreness is really starting to set in, especially in my back. If you don't do a lot of cycling, like, you kind of don't really know how your leg muscles can like interact with your lower back, because they reach around and then attach to your spine, right? So it's just pulling on those lower back muscles all day, and it can be pretty rough. And that's been kind of like my main thing. I've also just been like purely exhausted. So I'm gonna try to take some caffeine here in a second. And I've been really struggling with actually hitting my carb intake goal of around like 100 per hour, 100 grams. My main thing has just been sodium, man. And whew, you can hear the headwind, man. I'm only going 14 miles an hour. I'm still, like, I'm doing less than I was last lap, or about the same actually, not less. And I was cruising like 20 miles an hour down this section. I'm on that big wide road again. And now it's like I'm blocked to be under 15, which is not where I want to be. So I'm just hoping for the tailwind to carry me back faster than I could hope for. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
So if you were paying really close attention to the audio in that clip, you would have heard that I was actually like stopping pedaling every once in a while. By that point in the day, I'd probably pedaled my bike close to like 30,000 times. And my body was just like, every single time I did it was just like, what are you doing? You have to stop. It's something I've only really experienced like a couple times. But yeah, it was just so easy to just succumb to like the stop moving and just not pedal for a second, because I was just so fatigued by that point.
Just crossed over 100. I don't know if you could see, my phone's all sunny, so I can't see nothing. But just crossed over 100 at 6:45. Okay, so it's 2:14 right now, and I left the speedway at 12:30, just about. So it's been an hour 45 minutes to go 25 miles. That's not fantastic, because actually that's only off by like 5-ish minutes from 15. So I'm not going that much slower, but it definitely feels a lot slower. The wind seems to be in the middle of like a dead period, but it's gonna come back, I just know it. So, just gonna keep pedaling, and yeah. The crazy thing for me right now is like, I'm technically in my zone 1, and for those who don't know what that means, I'm at like the amount of effort that I can do that has literally zero impact on my muscles. So, well, actually right now I'm not, because the wind just picked up again, but the speed, like when the wind's not there, the speed I'm going at is so slow that it doesn't really like, it shouldn't be like impacting anything. But this deep, I'm really feeling it. I still like can't fully believe that I'm actually doing this to an extent, especially because like last year around this time I was not exercising like at all. Like, I've always ridden bikes, and I used to be a lot more into it back like early high school. Then COVID hit, I kind of stopped, and then college hit, and then I was only riding for like a few months out of the year, and it was like once a week. But some friends reached out to me for the first time in a really long time, and we started riding, and I I was in really rough shape at the time, but now I'm here. And just thinking about like how far I've progressed in just like 10 months is really like, it's hard to believe sometimes, because it's like, who can say that they've gone from like basically zero to like 150-mile races on gravel in less than a year, and doing it in like an amount of time that's like almost reasonable. It's pretty cool, and I'm very proud of myself for that. I'm proud of myself now. Like, this isn't going at all how I planned, right? Like, I was hoping to be hooked on with my friends and sitting in the draft and just chilling and maybe drop off if I need to. But instead, it's like I've been on the attack the entire time. This deep in, and when the fatigue really sets in like this, like, if anybody's in a group, they're going to be going faster than you because they have that aero benefit of riding in a group. And I'm just not going to be able to compete with that because everybody's the same amount of tired. That's the thing, is when you're 100 miles, 7 hours deep, like, everybody's tired. And realizing that is like realizing that you're kind of all in the same spot. And it's like that one dude said, it's like it never gets any easier, it just gets faster. So it's really unifying to think about it like that, because me and a pro, we're probably feeling about the same amount of tired right now, except the pros are about to finish up in like 20 or so minutes, which is actually insane to think about. Man, this wind is crazy. And that's another thing. I need to shift down. This wind is crazy. So, like, my heart rate was sitting around like 150-ish, like the whole first lap, right? And every time I've tried to like put out power to like get through a headwind, it immediately jumps up into the 180s, which for me is like about as high as it goes. I've only recorded one time where my heart rate got over 190, and I want to say that was on a run, but I don't really remember. So 185 is about the most I get up to on the bike. So to get into the 180s, just like slightly putting in some more power. Woo! Those are my buddies. That's awesome. That was so cool. Damn, they're far ahead of me right now. For it to get into the 180s while like putting out like modest power, like it was definitely more than my zone 2, but still, like, it really just goes to show like how in the trenches I am right now. All right, my phone is probably getting pretty close to dying, so I'm going to not talk to you all for a little bit. Just keep focusing on pedaling, and I'll see you next time I have something interesting to say.
So a little after that video was taken, I turned back into the lollipop section. The first time I went through it, I averaged around 185 watts during the whole thing. But this time I averaged under 140, which was actually the lowest I averaged over the course of the entire day, for any significant distance, obviously. Just like keeping the bike going forwards had become like a major challenge. I hadn't fully realized it at the time, but I think it was actually my stomach that was causing the issue here. It had settled, but it was like I just could not bring myself to eat anything. And part of it was palate fatigue, but also like I just did not feel hungry. It's weird to describe, especially if like you don't do stuff like this, but I just felt like I could not consume anything. And it was really kicking me in the back because I needed to eat something if I wanted to keep moving quickly. Eventually, though, I did make it out of the lollipop and back onto the really big road. But by that point, my ability to just move forwards had just been reduced severely.
Taking a little break.
Even though I'm like not going super hard, it's just like, I don't know, it's a really weird feeling. I don't think I'm gonna make it in 10 hours. I'd have to pull like 17 miles an hour. But yeah. Figured it out. I think it's just, at this point, I'm so like exhausted and tired that any amount of like pain in my system is enough to like sap me of like whatever energy I have. And so I'm very sensitive to that right now. And my stomach was definitely upset earlier. So I think it's just more of that. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to like record much from here until the finish line. So I'll see you when I get there. As you might have noticed from that clip, I was getting out of breath like super easily at this point. I've experienced that after really big rides where like just going up a flight of stairs will spike my heart rate, and it's because of like just being in a calorie deficit and exhausted after a long day. And so your body gets really, really sensitive to like physical activity. But I've never had that happen during an active effort. It was a really like intense feeling, and it was like scary to a certain degree, and it was really starting to freak me out. Dude, I'm like scared. I blinked and thought I was gonna fall asleep. I don't think I've ever been this tired in my entire life. It's like, I don't know. It's gotta be a bonk, man, because like I feel like I can't eat. Like I'm so tired that like I can't actively like digest food. I don't know, man. I just have to keep going. But I had to stop because like that freaked me out. Like I literally almost fell asleep, like just from blinking. It's not going well right now. I got a little less than 30 miles to go. Hopefully I'll be back before 11 hours is up. I'll just settle for finishing at this point because like I've never felt like this before. This is a crazy feeling. Yeah, so it had taken me 2 hours to eventually realize that I needed to eat food to keep moving. What a genius. Also, don't mind me on the bike. I needed to change locations really quick, so see you when I stop. All right, that's a little better. Starting to get a little cold over there because the sun's starting to set. So like I said, I had about 30 more miles to go, and that meant I was only 5 miles away from the nearest aid station. Once I stopped there, I had asked them for a Coca-Cola and took a few minutes just to make sure that I finished it and, I don't know, just make sure I was okay. But there must have been some magic in the Coca-Cola because once I started moving again, I started to feel a lot better. At this point, I hopped right back onto that ATV trail, and I was taking it super easy at this point, according to the numbers, but I was starting to feel a lot stronger. And I also put on some music again, because it had been so long since I had, like, heard anything that, like, I was starting to get kind of bored. So it kept the adrenaline up for sure, but Mama, I'm Coming Home coming on probably wasn't the best thing for my emotional state, but it was all right. So the last few turns of the race were pretty much uneventful. It was mostly just things I had already seen before. All right, this little guy is getting in the way of my shot. It was mostly stuff that I had seen before, and by this point I was like one of the last few people out there, so it was deserted. There was nobody there. And so everything went smoothly, or as smooth as it could have, and at long last I made the turn onto the road that led up to the speedway, and I was just feeling so relieved because I knew that I was finally coming to the end, and this does not need to be here. And so I was just like, oh my god, it's finally done. I don't need to keep pedaling anymore. And so I made the turn and I turned on the speedway, and it was like an explosion went off because all my friends who were still there were waiting for me to come in, and they saw me approach and they started cheering me on. And man, that was just an incredible thing. I'm very, very thankful to have the support that I do. And I tucked in low into puppy paws and just started putting out the watts because it was sprint time, and I actually put out over 900 watts for an instantaneous effort, and I didn't even like fully stand up, so that was actually a pretty good effort for me. Of course, I had to gloriously destroy any semblance of that being cool with my next terrible decision, which was, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just lay on the rear brake and just skid to a stop because it'll be badass and cool. It wasn't badass and cool. All it did was completely destroy my rear tire. You could actually smell the rubber coming off of the pavement. It was definitely not my wisest decision, but you know what? I don't think I could have trusted myself to do anything differently because I was like basically delirious at that point. So my final time for the race was 10 hours, 29 minutes, and 12 seconds. I was 50th out of 59 total finishers, and there were around 80 people that had actually signed up for the race, and quite a few of them didn't finish because it is a very difficult day out on the bike. And so I'm super proud of that. I obviously wish I could have done a little better, but I'll take what I can get. I'd only finished about 30 minutes slower than I had hoped to, and given that I did that like completely on my own, I'm gonna take that as a big win. I succeeded with my goal. Anyway, so what could I have done better? Well, there's the obvious don't forget your number plate before you start and have to turn around and waste 4 minutes and then also make a wrong turn so that you are guaranteed never to catch up with anybody. But there's actually a decent amount of strategical things that I could have done differently. One thing that I've already talked about was electrolytes. It's really important to have salt in your body, and one thing that I was starting to suffer from towards the end was I was getting like muscle cramps. Like I actually almost got a Charlie horse in my calf trying to do a quad stretch because I was feeling it at that point. I think that was around mile 50-ish, and that just immediately told me, yeah, I need salt in my system. So I was doing 700 milligrams of sodium for the first lap. I probably could have done double that, honestly. So next time I do something like this, that's going to be the first thing that I fix. The other thing that I could have done better was just scoping out my effort from the start. I obviously had a bad mindset thinking that I was going to be able to catch people, and that's probably not something I could have prevented, but given the stats, it really shows that I should have just taken it a lot easier from the start. I finished the first lap in 4.5 hours, and the second lap took me almost 6. And that's a very, very big positive difference. Positive as in time increase, not good. So I could have measured my effort out a lot smoother, and things would have felt a lot better, I'm sure. Oh, and another thing that was very important that I forgot was sunscreen. I hadn't been wearing sunscreen because it had been so cold for most of the winter that I was just like wearing a hoodie like I am now, or arm warmers or whatever. So I didn't even think to bring any sunscreen. And I forget which one now. I think this sleeve was up and this one was down. You can see it in this picture from the race. And as a result, I had this hilarious asymmetrical tan line from the sunburn. So remember sunscreen. That's a very important element. And yeah, that's basically everything that I have to talk about. The sun's going down, so I got to get out of here pretty quick. All in all, super happy with how I did. Very proud of myself for doing it. Finishing was really the true goal the whole time, so the fact that I did it at all was enough for me. Yeah, and if I do end up doing something like that, or even just like some more rides around like some races or whatever, like let me know if you like this kind of video, if you liked hearing my take on things and hearing about my experiences, because this was pretty fun to make, and it's a nice change up from my usual content. But yeah, let me know if you have any other questions or anything else down in the comments. I love reading those, and I'll be sure to answer those. And that's all from me. Catch you all later. Hang on, I have to give it a minute because I gotta show the things that you should watch. There's a thing here and a thing here that you should click on. You should do it. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna die.